Hello there, everyone. I'm going to wait for people to join, and I'm going to start on the discussion of things that have happened today. Then we're gonna do the news for the past 24 hours. I'm surprisingly early today because you guys know usually I'm not early. I'm either 2 minutes late or 15 minutes early. That's just, that's that's how I am. Hi Taz, good to see you. What time is it in Lithuania? Was it like 7? Is it the same time? Is it same as Ukraine or no? Hi Darlene. Hi Veronica. Hi David. I didn't see someone earlier. Oh, hi Melissa. Hi James. Hi Army Smurf. Hi Armin. Hi everyone. Hi Natabot. Hi Vivav. Hi Alyssa. Hi Gorilla Joe. Hi Joe. Hi Kat. Hi Grumpy. Yeah, so let's do the rounds of hellos first. I do want to ask, for those of you who have watched the Sunday brief video, what did you guys think? So first of all, hi Graham. Hi Carolyn. Hi everybody. Hi Frank. So I'm sorry if I'm not saying to everyone. I might miss your hello, but hello either way. So what I was going to ask is, for those of you who went on YouTube and saw the Sunday news briefly, hi Tom, welcome. I want to ask you, how did you feel about it? So this was the first time I did like brief 13-minute news for YouTube. Granted, this weekend was a little slower in the news than it usually is. So I would say that likely most weekends it will be up to 20 minutes, but 20 minutes tops. So I want this segment to not be more than 20 minutes. Can you make Cindy read the news? No. Cindy, I wish Cindy could read the news. But we're going to I'm going to work on it. So first of all, I know that a couple of you commented about the reflection in my glasses. That was very distracting. That's not lost on me. I was thinking about it as I was filming it, but I couldn't figure out how to position the light so that it wouldn't happen. John is going to take over the editing from now on. He's busy yesterday normally. Well, he was supposed to be the one editing it. He was supposed to be the one helping me, but he was busy. And I wanted to put it out, and that's why we have some editing flops, but they're going to be resolved by next weekend. Another thing is I'm going to be adding a lot more visuals, and again, because John is a professional editor, also my husband, he is, I'm going to have an easier time in introducing visuals in a more seamless manner. Also, these Sunday news brieflies are going to come out by 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, because I do need to go through the whole day, of news coming in order to be able to do a good news summary with everything that had happened. So, I wish I could pre-record it on Saturday and put it out on Sunday, but it's news on Sunday and the recap for the week. So I'm going to have to wait for the full day in Ukraine, and then I'll be putting by 9 p.m. The reason why they were so delayed yesterday is because for some reason, all of my technology absolutely hated me yesterday. When I was filming the brief to begin with, I filmed the whole thing. And then when I was playing it over, it turns out that my camera, by, I don't know, the will of poltergeist, has switched to slow-mo. And on my camera, slow-mo doesn't record sound at all, so I couldn't even speed it up and make it normal speed. So that was like 40 minutes to an hour of wasted time. And then I had to re-record it, also figure out how it got into slow-mo and how to get it out of slow-mo. It was very strange. It was genuinely like the world was against me. Then I was editing the whole thing, and my editor started glitching, and I've had the edits ready by I want to say 10, 11 p.m. But I want to say by 10, 11 p.m. And then my editor started glitching as I was going through the last segment, and I couldn't save it. I couldn't export it. I couldn't edit it. It was just like a whole nightmare, But granted, again, John will be doing the edits. He has professional editing software. He also has years of experience on me in editing and also knows these things better. So hopefully we're going to avoid these flops. Norm is saying, how much is John charging? He's charging me in dinners. He's charging me in meat dinners. That's about all it is. That's about all it is. He has an opportunity to request what he wants for dinner. That's what he charges me. But yes, he's very good, and honestly, I'm incredibly happy that he is taking a larger role in helping me with my social media, because obviously he's just so much better at all things video, and being a professional videographer and video editor for who is your husband. Having a professional videographer and video editor who's your husband is definitely very, very handy. And not the only reason I'm glad he's back from his tour, but also does help that he is back now. Okay, well, enough about me. For everybody who is new here, hi, my name is Yulia. I'm born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine, where I've lived until I was 16 years old. That was 12 years ago. Then I moved to New York, where I have lived since then. And I started my TikTok initially channel in the beginning of the full-scale invasion on February 24th as a method of sort of coping with what was happening. And also I'm very well versed in geopolitics and history. And so I uploaded a video. The video made it very far, and here we are. Ever since I have been and ever since I have been delivering the news every day. So what we do on this channel is we do lives daily for usually 2 hours. We basically go over everything that happened in the past 24 hours in Ukraine and pertaining to Ukraine. We dissect it, we discuss it, we give it geopolitical and historical context. And sort of, yeah, that's what we do. This live is being streamed on 4 platforms at the same time. It's YouTube, Twitch, Twitter for now, and TikTok. So if you are more comfortable with any of the aforementioned platforms, sorry. Also, I feel like I'm getting sick. So Vasily is really sick, and it might be COVID, might be something else. I woke up today and my throat is a little itchy, but that also could be because I am, for other factors. But I kind of feel a little loopy, so maybe, or I'm starting to feel a little loopy, so maybe I'm getting it from him, but hopefully not. Hopefully I'm just, not in the groove of things yet. So pardon my slowness today if I am a little. But yes, so if you're more comfortable with any of the aforementioned platforms, my username or handle, whichever you prefer to call it, is the same across all social media. So as I usually say, if you are trying to find me on a social media platform and you type in YEWLEEA, and you can't find me, then I'm not there. I tried to make it incredibly simple for everybody so you guys could find me everywhere. Okay, well, with that said, welcome everybody. I hope that everybody liked the video. Genuinely, I'm a person who loves criticism. I love taking advice. I love taking suggestions and stuff like that. So if you watched the Sunday news briefly, please let me know what you thought. And you can give me suggestions, because at the end of the day, this meant for you, this segment is meant to deliver you the news in the most efficient, most convenient method possible on Sundays when I have finally decided to take a day off for myself. So if there are certain things you want me to cover, if there are certain things you want me to focus on more, like let's say this time I think I was pretty short on everything. I just sort of recited you everything that I thought was important and gave short commentary. But if you guys think that you might want more discussion, more commentary, more things like that, please do let me know, because I'm happy to adjust it. If you want a certain discussion in general included, please also let me know. We're still just working on. We are still just working on all of these things, and this segment is very malleable. Also, thank you, Grumpy, for letting me know that the mic is muffled, because for some reason, again, my software was just using internal computer mic instead of my normal mic. But yeah, so will do wonders on your fresh mint leaves, and hot tea will do wonders in your throat. Actually, I love mint, so I will definitely try that. So yes, please do let me know. Also, as I said earlier, 2 new segments are going to be coming to YouTube. And also, once John and I figure out our workflow, I'm going to post a schedule, most likely in the community tab or also on the banner of the channel, when videos are going to be coming out. So obviously the Sunday News Briefly is going to be coming out every Sunday. I will say by 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Then you should warn newbies about calling you a spy. Oh, well, you guys can tell everybody why I'm a spy. But so basically, we're going to have Sunday News Briefly by 9 p.m. every Sunday. We're also going to have this segment called Bleep They Say to Us, which is going to be also a very fluid segment where I'm going to be reading out DMs from Ukrainians of their interactions with your everyday Russians and kind of what Russians really think and how they really treat Ukrainians and stuff like that. I'm also hoping that this segment could sort of grow into an awareness segment on other topics as well, sort of like, bleep homophobes say to us, or like bleep Trumplicans say to us, or things like that. So I sort of just want to make that segment kind of both entertaining and educational at the same time. So it doesn't feel really like you're watching a huge educational video, but it also feels lighthearted, but at the same time gets the point across. So we're going to do that. And then monthly, we're going to have a segment where my father-in-law, who is a chef, will be cooking Ukrainian dishes, and we're going to be filming it, give you recipes, and we're going to walk you through exactly how to cook them, because you guys have requested so many times for me to teach you how to cook Ukrainian dishes. And I am a very not confident cook. I'm a very good baker. I'm a confident baker. I love baking. Cooking, on the other hand, I know how to cook, but cooking for people, for an audience, being confident that it comes out good, no, absolutely not. Mortifying. So what we decided we're going to do is, my father-in-law is a chef of French cuisine, and we thought it'd be a really great idea if I would tell him Ukrainian dishes. He will go and research them. He will find recipes, or I can give him family recipes, and he's going to cook them, putting his own spin on it. And then I will try them and let him know what I think. And in the meanwhile, we're gonna film all of this, give you all the ingredients and instructions on how to do it. So that's the segment that's going to be coming monthly. And again, all of the schedule for all of these things is going to be posted shortly, once John and I kind of like create a workflow of when we can reasonably get all of these things done for different days of the week. So yeah, with that said, do you guys have any questions, suggestions, anything like that? If not, then we're going to dive into the thumbnail as we usually do, or rather we're going to dive into a discussion pertaining to the thumbnail. And then from there on, we are going to go into the news for the past 24 hours. And then we're going to do a little bit of a recap and discussion. Also, I do want to let you know that basically for the Sunday News Briefly, one of the things, I do want to remind you, if you watch the interview with Tork, who's a serviceman of Azov Regiment, and it's a 4-part interview, 3 parts of which have already come out. Now that my channel is finally monetized, all of the revenue from watching Tork interviews is going to go to Tork, so he can buy an apartment for his parents who lost everything in Mariupol, because he's from Mariupol. He's a serviceman of Azov Regiment, and he defended Azovstal. He was in Russian captivity, and then he came back to the Ukrainian-controlled land in July when he was exchanged. He's also an avid advocate for prisoner exchanges, and now, even though his trauma is not fully healed, he has a tremendous injury to his leg. He is still planning on coming back to battlefield. So Tork is going back to the front lines. And the Sunday News Briefly, I'm going to be donating 25% of the proceeds from every Sunday news briefly to the Ukrainian armed forces. And this time I specifically want to donate the 25% of the revenue specifically to those who serve in Bakhmut so they can get themselves winter gear. So I do want to let you know that. And I'm also going to be incredibly transparent with how much of what from revenue goes where. And I do want to donate pieces, thank you, Mariana, pieces and bits of revenue to the defenders of Ukraine, obviously. And that was always the plan. And we're also going to bring back a lot of things that I have sort of put on pause in the beginning because I was overwhelmed with everything that was happening. So now that we've covered all of that, you also have an option of super chats. If I don't see your question, you can always send a super chat and I will definitely answer it. With that said, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be answering non-super chat questions. I will be. It's just that, first of all, those are very visible because they're bright colored. And second of all, if I'm reading the news, sometimes it's hard for me to catch up with the chat, especially if it's flowing very fast. Because keep in mind, I have Twitch chat, YouTube chat, and I have TikTok chat, which is usually the most intense one. And Grumpy, there is a troll calling your name on Twitch. All right, so with that said, today's thumbnail says that Boeing is proposing to send, they're basically these small little, thank you, Kay. They're basically these small little bombs that attach to missiles and they're precision guided. And they would make the missiles that we already have. They basically would make the missiles that we already have longer range. And so Boeing is one of like a dozen proposals and dozen projects that have offered different solutions to the problem of Ukraine not having long range missiles, right? And the Pentagon has been looking over them. And so they decided it seems like, according to the latest reports, they're paying the closest attention to the proposal from Boeing. I am going to read you an excerpt because I do want to give you a full scope of what it is. So basically, the Pentagon is considering a Boeing proposal to supply Ukraine with cheap, small precision bombs fitted onto abundantly available rockets, allowing Kyiv to strike far behind Russian lines as the West struggles to meet demand for more arms. Boeing's proposed system, dubbed Ground-Launched Small Diameter Bombs, or GLSDB, is one of about half a dozen plans for getting new munitions into production for Ukraine and other Eastern European allies, industry sources said. So basically what is happening is there is a lot of demand, obviously, for these missiles. There are a lot of companies that are fighting for the chance and for the ability to produce a solution for longer range munitions for Ukraine and also in general for munitions for Ukraine, because we need certain things that are not that widely available. We need certain things that the United States isn't always keen on providing because of the escalation of conflict. And so they're trying to look for a way to go around it. And those small bombs might be a very good way to go around it. They would also give us a lot of advantage on the battlefield in terms of reaching farther remote areas, such as, bases in Crimea or bases beyond the front lines or bases in far eastern parts of Ukraine. So that is what Boeing's proposal basically entails. And that is the first time that the Pentagon actually confirmed that they're looking over something seriously. So it does look like there is a chance that Boeing will get that contract. So Grumpy says, yeah, it was weird. I couldn't ban him. There is a troll on Twitch that's unbannable, apparently. but yeah. Also, another interesting development and update that I want to go over is Kherson frontline. So I know that things have been quiet on the southern front. If you get the reference, there is a movie that's called Things Are Quiet on the Western Front. So I figured I would do my own interpretation and say that things have been quiet on the southern front. As you know, Ukraine recently returned the city of Kherson under Ukrainian control. Russia has been shelling it incessantly every day because, they're just such good liberators who came to liberate all of these Russian people who really want to be a part of Russia, and they just care about them so much, and that's why they held the city hostage. But alas, when they were pushed out, or as they say, retreated, from Kherson, the armed forces of Ukraine, they started revenge shelling it. So Kherson has been under shelling since I want to actually since like the third or the fourth day that it has returned under Ukrainian control, and it still has no water, no hot water, no electricity, no gas, and that is a huge problem. There is a huge effort being made in order to deliver heaters and generators to Kherson, because if they don't get them by winter, or rather by harsher winters beginning, they, in the words of Kherson residents themselves, we are screwed. Kherson is in the south, so it does have a little more time than the rest of Ukraine before the temperatures drop to negative degrees. And we are working with the whole world on providing those generators and providing those heaters. I do want to point out that I volunteer with Mission Kharkiv. Mission Kharkiv is an organization, it's an NGO that was created by a friend of mine and two credible guys that he had met in Ukraine, both from Kharkiv region. One is a doctor one is an oncologist who works at Oxford, and the other one is a mathematician who just finished his PhD in Spain. And so the three of them have created this amazing initiative called Mission Kharkiv, and it's rapidly becoming one of the most funded organizations in Ukraine. They're making headlines. They're doing amazing work. So they have been delivering critical aid in form of medication, first aid supplies, food, and stuff like that to the frontline recently liberated cities in Kharkiv. So they pretty much work under rocket fire in very treacherous conditions. And they have been helping, especially those who are the most vulnerable, which are, cancer patients, which are old, elderly, and disabled. And also, one of the biggest things that they do, which not that many organizations in Ukraine do, is they evacuate cancer patients from Ukraine to European clinic to provide them with treatment in safety. And so that has been really amazing. And right now, on Giving Tuesday tomorrow, they're going to be launching a campaign with DonorSee to fundraise for heaters and generators for Ukraine. Hi, Voice Teach. To fundraise for heaters and generators for Ukraine, so the residents of Kharkiv region don't have to be freezing. And we are planning on expanding our operations far beyond Kharkiv. And so I would say that if you're considering to donate to Ukraine this Giving Tuesday, here are the options that I would recommend. One is donating to the defenders of Bakhmut so they could get winter uniforms. Two is donating for generators and heaters for Ukrainian civilians. And the organization that I stand by, that I can give you my seal of approval for because I volunteer my time to them myself, is Mission Kharkiv on Instagram, also on Twitter, and we're soon getting a TikTok channel to have more presence and to show more people what we've been up to. Also, there is someone was asking, let me see, because I saw, okay. Gorilla Joe says, idea the average cost per soldier for winter gear. So honestly, it depends on what they need, because some soldiers, I will tell you right away, all of them need boots, because even if they have boots, unless they're completely waterproof, like really nice, good quality boots, those boots are gone within a day, 2 or 3. You might have seen the video where a soldier takes off his boots and it's completely smothered in like cold, wet mud. Those are the conditions in which they live. So they do need to have spare boots. And if they do have boots, they need super waterproof socks, like completely water repellent socks. And there are socks made specifically for military that are just like that. They need boots that are water repellent and waterproof. Not that anything will help them, because, if you put your feet into like this much mud, water repellent or not, the mud is still going to get there. The water is still going to get inside of the boot, but they all need boots. Good boots are about $200 to $300 per pair. Winter gear, well, it depends. Some of them will have jackets. Some of them won't. Some of them will need long johns. Some of them won't. Some of them will need socks. Some of them won't. So it really depends on the soldier, but I would say at least probably per soldier is Probably per soldier, it's about $500 at least, considering that each one of them needs boots. And boots are one of the most important things, and they are also one of the most expensive things because you can buy long johns in bulk and you can buy them for like what, $20 a pair or something like that. And you could supply a lot of soldiers. They all need thermal, clothing and stuff like that. So I would say probably an average cost of supplying one soldier with with basic winter uniforms is about $500 or €500, depending on where are you from. So there is that. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say in terms of these things. Let's. Do you guys have any questions? Do you guys have any suggestions? Hi, Jillian. Anything to say? I'm all ears. If not, we are going to jump straight into the updates and discussion. And in the meanwhile, also, if you're new here, just FYI, you're always welcome to ask questions. You're always welcome to interact in chat. You're always welcome to, ask something pertaining to what I'm talking about at the moment. And if I'm not super distracted by talking about a specific situation, I will always read it and we will always go over it. And if not, then I usually scroll through the chat by the end of the stream and I try to answer all of the questions that I have missed. With pressure washers at car, I have seen, Taz says, I have seen videos on TikTok of soldiers washing their uniforms with pressure washers at a car wash. Yeah, because, well, here is the thing. So yesterday, for the Sunday news brief, I posted on my thumbnail, I included this photo of a soldier in Bakhmut region because I thought it was so powerful. So this is the photo, and this is this soldier completely covered in mud. And that is a normal thing for Ukrainian defenders. That is what each one of these guys looks like at the front today, because the conditions there they're horrid. They're terrifying, they're horrid, and there is not much we can do about it. We can just persevere through them and make sure that we equip these guys to handle these conditions more comfortably. Because realistically, until the ground freezes, nothing is going to change. And it's just going to be muddy, 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 cold, slushy water everywhere, especially when the snow falls and then the snow, especially when the snow falls and then it melts and, it just creates this sort of lovely slush in which they have to live, sleep, and, survive through and fight. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, no. There we go. Sorry. What did I do? Pardon. See, technology hates me lately. Like, genuinely, absolutely hates me. Okay, so hopefully this will work this time and I won't. I'm trying to get my iPad charger out of my computer, and with that, I struck a cord that connects my camera. So I apologize. You guys, if you have been here for a while, you know that me and technology are not very friendly. Rather, technology hates me. I try to be friends with it. But, I try to be friends with it. It doesn't like me. Okay, so what's up with the Boeing deal? Okay, so I will catch you up. We did go over it earlier, but I will let you know what's going on with that deal. So basically, Boeing has offered one of the dozen companies that have offered the Pentagon to deal basically with the problem of Ukraine lacking high precision long range munitions, and they have offered to supply Ukraine with these small bombs that would basically be adjacent to the rockets that Ukraine already has. And those bombs are high precision, and they would make these rockets much longer range, basically solving the issue of Ukraine not being able to strike past Russian front lines and not having enough long range or not having at all precision long-range missiles to strike into the Russian-occupied territory in, let's say, Crimea. So this is the deal that Boeing is offering, and so far, about a dozen companies have offered different solutions, but the Pentagon hasn't been necessarily interested or have shown with official statements or really any indication of them even considering those deals. But this is the first one that they're indicating that they are highly considering. So that Boeing deal might happen. And that is what is up with the Boeing deal. I hope that that was helpful, and I hope that that answered your question. Nothing worse than winter mock war. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Gianmarco. Good to see you. Hi, Loyalty. Thank you, Annie. What are the prospects of ever winning this? It appears a lot of suffering without the world helping. Well, so to be honest, if I had a dime for every time somebody asked me what are the prospects of winning this, the thing is, Ukraine is 100% going to win this war. Strategically, we are prevailing. We're really prevailing in absolutely everything except for numbers of bodies on the front. But the thing is, Russia has more bodies. Ukraine has more trained men. How fast? First, also, Ukraine will never give up. That's the whole thing. You know, Russia at some point has to give up because there is not going to be enough people who are going to just die for a cause they don't even believe in, don't care for, or don't even know really what they're fighting for because they're all being lied to, right? Ukraine, on the other hand, we know what we're fighting against, and we know what we're fighting from, right? Basically. So Ukraine is not going to give in. Ukraine is not going to give up. So at some point, it is going to be Ukraine's victory. The thing is, how fast Ukraine wins really is directly correlated to weapon deliveries and to the help that we can get from the West. Because unfortunately, it's going to be much harder and it's going to take much longer for Ukraine to win if we are not going to be getting consistent supply of weapons from the West, if they're not going to be, if the weapons are not going to be delivered to the front on time, and most importantly, if we're not going to get the weapons that we are asking for. Because if we had long-range munitions, missiles, we would be able to have taken back so much more territory at this point. Okay, with that said, we're going to dive into the news from Ukraine for the past 24 hours. The way that we normally do it is we will go over the news selection that I have for today. Then we will read Kyiv Independent, and we will kind of see if Kyiv Independent has anything more to say, and also recap everything that I have already said in a shorter format of just brief bullet points, so everyone who's joining late knows what we've talked about today. Heroyam Slava. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I always get, an elections notice on my TikTok, and I never freaking talk about them. So I don't understand. I really don't understand why. Okay. So we're starting off strong with a video from the Ukrainian front lines where Ukrainian soldiers have built a trench that looks like your average cellar in a village house. So take a look. This is the mastery of what Ukrainian soldiers are capable of doing. I'm going to, as always, download this video and show it to you full screen on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. And then for those of you on TikTok, I'm just going to turn over my phone so you can see it too, but it's just not going to be full screen. Bear with me because, I need to definitely look in where I can either my screen or share play onto this screen or something like that, where I don't have to do this every time and move my setups and stuff like that, just for the sake of time efficiency. But for now, it is what it is, and I'm really sorry, but given that I am not a professional news agency, okay, so I just did a wrong thing. Also, I'm just not feeling so hot today in terms of, being very, very able to do things efficiently, and technology, it looks like, still hates me. So, oh, wrong. Video file. Downloads. There we go.
Йдемо в гості до наших хлопців. Подивіться, як вони все облаштували. Це бліндаж. А є тут світло, нема? Є. Дивіться, така буржуйка хлопців. Спальні місця. Ось наші хлопці, дивіться, як облаштували це все.
Специальная лампочка, которая заряд держит, когда выключен аккумулятор.
Вона з акумулятором.
Да.
Зрозумів. Дивіться, які в нас хлопці, майстри, зробили це все самі.
Сюда вот роутер подключается.
Навіть роутер є.
Вот сюда к проводам подключается вот такой вот роутер.
Угу.
Вот.
Ага, це мобільний, так?
Да. Ну, он по контракту.
Ага.
Не заканчиваемый этот безлимит. Это подключается, и интернет у всех есть.
Супер. Просто супер, ви неймовірні молодці. Орки просто в ямах живуть, представляєте?
Да.
Просто в дирках. А ви таке вже зробили, дивіться, двохповерхові ліжка.
О, посвіті.
З гільз зробили собі вітра, гріють воду.
Да.
Просто неймовірні українці, вони роблять неймовірні речі. Тільки подивіться. Тільки подивіться. Це все на глибині під землею знаходиться.
Тут очень жарко тепло.
Тут як баня може бути, так? Тільки подивіться. Ну, що це? Навіть двері. Двері в бліндаж зробили хлопці. Ви уявляєте собі? Де ви таке побачили ще? Сходинки зробили. Та ви що? Це пацани молодці.
So mind you, the reason why I like showing you these videos that seemingly are not news, right, but sort of show you the real situation on the front line is because I want you to see the effort with which Ukraine is fighting, right? So these are guys that are not, they're not attacking. These guys are defending, and they have missiles being shot at them 24/7. They are outnumbered, and they still have time to make conditions for themselves in which they can actually comfortably survive. And that is so honorable, and that is so noble. And the fact that they care for one another, and the fact that they care for their comfort, and the fact that they try to make these conditions bearable is really worth admiration. Because if you look on the contrary at the Russian army, they're quite literally living in mud. They're quite literally sometimes living in pig barns, and they just really don't care. When you look at the places they retreat from, there's garbage everywhere. They have no respect for themselves. And how are you planning on winning the war if you I understand that they don't have respect for the Ukrainian army, that's a given, but they don't have respect for their own comrades, and they don't have respect for themselves, provided the conditions in which they live and conditions in which they leave the places that they have inhabited. Now, this is to show you exactly what is going on with mud on the Ukrainian front lines. So this has been titled as a joke, Fast and Furious 2022, Ukraine Drift. Oh my gosh, okay. Well, as I said, technology hates me today, so I am going to try and do this again. There we go. So these are the conditions in which the soldiers need to live. These are the conditions in which the soldiers need to drive. These are the conditions that they're working in. Here is a video. Basically, Ukrainian defenders showed the cleansing of the left bank of the Dnieper from the invaders, a R-28th Specialized Brigade. And this is published via the Associated Press. So I'm going to show you this video. It's going to be a 3-minute video, and it's going to give you a deep dive on what's happening in Kherson. And provided the latest insights, Ukrainians are preparing a new counteroffensive in Kherson. And this counteroffensive this time is going to be aimed at taking over the left bank of the river. Now, I also noticed that it is very confusing for people why, if you look at the map, the bank on the right is considered the left bank, and the bank on the left is considered the right bank. So if you still do have this confusion, let me clarify it for you. Because river banks are determined based on the current. So if you're standing and you're looking at the current, it goes down and the current flows this way. So with the current, the left bank of Dnipro is what you see on the right on the map, and the right bank of Dnipro is what you see on the left of the map. So now Ukrainian soldiers are planning a counteroffensive to take back the occupied territories of the left bank of Dnipro River. So take a look at some of the footage from Kherson. And this is via Associated Press.
Отлично. Свет зачехляюсь, потому что включаться, привыкнуть к работе. Противник бежал на левый берег Днепра. Там сейчас занимает оборону по всей линии. Подтягивает боеприпасы, артиллерию, резервы подтягиваются. С каждым днем все больше и больше обстрелов города начинается. Ну, в частности, береговой линии и окраин города. Они начинают обстреливать. Ну, рано или поздно эта бомба взорвется и пойдет боестолкновение по полной. Вот здесь мне нравится Днепра. Там движение постоянно есть. Куда пошел? Опять вправо? Ага, вижу. Пуля прошла четко. Этот, походу, упал, а второй съебался. Только что.
Heck of a suppression can, says Gorilla Joe on YouTube. Also, hi, Alex. Welcome. Also, hi, Scott. Good to see you. Scott says, hi, did you get some rest? Yes. So, actually, for those of you who are new, I'm notorious for not getting enough rest. I'm notorious for forgetting to eat. I'm notorious for not sleeping till 5 in the morning, then waking up at 9, and then going and doing, everything that I do basically 24/7. So people often remind me to rest. And contrary to the popular belief, I understand that I was like complaining about this video yesterday and the fact that technology was just hating me. And it might have seemed like I was up very late. I was not. I actually went to bed a little after 2, I think. I did wake up a couple of times and maybe responded to some messages, but I actually had enough rest today. I woke up at 9:30 and I was incredibly rested and I was ready to go. And I did do a lot starting this morning. So yeah, I did have a very good rest last night, surprisingly. That is very uncanny for me, rather. Hi, thanks for all the good work you're doing. Hi, thank you for watching and participating. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not have the platform to spread the news and awareness about everything that's happening in Ukraine. Boris Johnson continues to help Ukraine. The former prime minister visited the warehouse of medicine from the hospital network that has already sent 12 trucks of humanitarian aid to Kherson. Johnson himself helped volunteers, worked as a loader and truck driver. What a lovely PR move. I find it so incredibly humorous, because here's the thing. I've said this so many times, but Ukrainians absolutely adore Boris Johnson. And I mean, obviously in the infospace in which Boris Johnson appeared in Ukraine, that is not uncanny. But to me, it's kind of like funny to see all of this Boris Johnson praise, because I fully understand how much people in the UK absolutely despised him, and how many people in the UK really didn't like him, and how many people and how much damage he has done to the country. So it's really comical to me to see all of these like PR moves and Ukrainians reacting to them as like, oh my gosh, what an amazing guy. Meanwhile, Boris is just ravishing in the attention. At least that's what I think. But hey, here's a good deed from Boris. Here is Boris driving a truck. Here is Boris loading some medical boxes into the truck. And here is Boris again. I will say that green kind of suits him. And, he does seem to have acquired a brush, at least a little bit, because his hair seems like it's a little less unruly. So maybe Boris retired and had some time to go shopping in Boots and get himself a comb. See, that joke sounded funnier in my head, and then when it came out, it just wasn't nearly as funny, but that's okay. Jillian, I love him. Yeah, I know. We'll see. Boris is like a controversial figure. I think that there are a lot of people that love him and there are a lot of people that despise him, and that's okay. I mean, that's the role of the politician, right? But yeah, I just think that Ukrainians give him way too much credit. And I think that at the beginning of the invasion, it was just funny because Ukrainians were considering Boris Johnson to be this like amazing politician who has done so much good, who's like this tremendous leader, who's so respected and so well loved. Meanwhile, his own country was having so many issues with him, right? Did you hear something about the supposed food poisoning of several refugees in Poland? Yes, I did hear. I did hear about that incident. It does sound like food poisoning. I don't think it was. So here's the thing. Don't take it as a fact. It's an opinion, right? I did hear about a food poisoning in a refugee camp in Poland of Ukrainian refugees. Well, it was rather the way that the news was presented. It said poisoning, right? It didn't specify whether it was food poisoning or anything else. So people immediately jumped on it and were like, oh my gosh, what happened? So most likely it was a food poisoning. And also you need to understand that in refugee camps, the quality of food is not necessarily divine. And having a food poisoning and stuff like that is very normal because, you're trying to cook for a lot of people that most likely can't afford to buy their own groceries. And, you get what you can. A lot, there is no sort of like, there is no special dietary requirements, there is no ability to modify food for things that you can or cannot eat. So food poisonings are really not that uncanny. Also, if somebody had a stomach bug, that stomach bug would spread really fast. So anytime you have a facility with lots and lots of people at the same time who are confined to that facility and also in not the most incredible conditions, it's bound to happen. So I wouldn't think that there is anything really to pay that much attention to. I think that it's just normal course, unfortunately, of underfunded facilities or facilities that are overwhelmed. So yeah, Armin posted his quote of the day today, so I'm going to read it. Hi, Grumpkin. What's going on? Our little mascot made it here. Shalon of Sparta taught, if you are strong, be merciful so that your neighbors respect you rather than fear you. Russia is cruel and merciless. Thus, Russia's enemies will fight to the bitter end. Yeah, see, that's like the whole thing. It's like, I think that one of the worst mistakes that you can do as like a politician, as a dictator, and one of the reasons why all dictators fail, it's because people don't respect them because of what they've done. People don't respect them because of certain merits. The only reason that they are untouchable is because people fear them. And it's much, much better to stay in a position of power, in a position of responsibility, when people respect you for your deeds, not fear you for your deeds. And the reason why dictatorships fail is because realistically, dictators are hated and feared. And hated and feared is not something that's going to keep you in power, because there's bound to be someone who's not afraid of you and who's going to take all of those people who have hated you this whole time and push them against you. And they're not going to be feared. They're going to be respected. Belgium will allocate 150,000 euros to support Ukrainian culture, said Minister of Culture Alexander Tkachenko. The country will also provide new humanitarian military assistance to Ukraine and join the humanitarian initiative Grain from Ukraine. Let me remind you that this humanitarian initiative is created by Ukraine in order to provide countries that have been that have had issues with food supply with Ukrainian grain, and this initiative has been set up in order to basically donate grain to famished parts of our world. Sin? No, I know you like making noises. I know you like doing all of these things. Okay, do you want a brushie? Do you want a treat brushie? Okay. Let me give Cindy a treat, because if I don't, you guys are gonna keep hearing the snorting, and I know it's cute to an extent, but it's also incredibly distracting for me when I'm trying to do the news. So give me a second. Also, for those of you who are new, you're about to meet my gremlin that pretends to be a dog, but really it's just a gremlin. Oh, come here. Okay. Slava Ukraini. Слава нації. Пиздець Російській Федерації. No? Good. Good girl. So, this is what I have been advertised as a dog, but came out to be just a snorting little gremlin. And the reason why it is actually a gremlin is because when you wet it, it goes nuts. Usually at wee hours of the night too. So, you know, you can hear Cindy breathing. Well, yeah. Cindy likes, well, it's not breathing. It's more like Cindy's band snort, you know? Okay, digest of the main news of last night. Russian military expects Ukrainian armed forces to cross Dnipro River and launch counteroffensive in eastern Kherson, threatening important landlines of communication from Crimea to mainland, as per Institute for the Study of War. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak intends to maintain or increase military aid to Ukraine next year, including new air defense systems. Are you Ukrainian? Yes, I am, born and raised. Defense forces repelled enemy attacks near 10 settlements and hit 4 areas of concentration of invaders over the past day, according to General Staff of Ukraine. Now, I'm going to go over this again because I know that when people are new it helps. But hi, my name is Yulia. I'm Ukrainian, born and raised in Lviv. I moved out of Lviv when I was 16 years old, 12 years ago, and ever since I have been living in New York City. My parents, my whole immediate family lives in Ukraine. I'm the only one who lives in the United States. What we do on this channel daily is we go over the news for the past 24 hours that happened in, around, or pertaining to Ukraine from a political, historical, geopolitical standpoint, give it context, and sort of dissect and digest it. So that's what we do. The lives usually are about 2 hours in total. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, depending on how much news we have. And usually we will have a little discussion in the beginning. Then we will do the news for the past 24 hours, just in bullet points and sort of like dissection. And then we will have a discussion slash Q&A section. And this stream is going on currently on 4 platforms, which are Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and for now, Twitter, because we all know that Elon's takeover it might bury Twitter, but also, honestly, I have been really, really, really not enjoying being on Twitter since the takeover, because it is just basically a cesspool of trolls that no one controls. So there is that. Vitaly Klitschko says there will be no full evacuation, perhaps partial, but it cannot be called evacuation. This is a temporary relocation of certain categories of people to the suburbs where they may be serviced. So because of the blackouts in Kyiv, which have been ongoing and have been happening either as rolling blackouts or because of the damage to infrastructure, there are certain, I would say, vulnerable categories of people that might need to be relocated from Kyiv for the time being, so they could be able to maintain their health and maintain quality of life. Like, let's say, kids who need access to electricity because they have inhalers, or certain patients that are hooked up to certain machines that need electricity supply 24/7. So there might be an evacuation of those citizens. So certain sensitive categories of citizens might be evacuated due to blackouts in Kyiv and due to constant hits by the terrorist state of Russia onto the civil infrastructure of Ukraine. The beginning of the new week may bring new Russian missile attacks, as for the first time in a long time, a Russian missile carrier has appeared on duty in the Black Sea. It is a surface missile carrier that carries 8 caliber missiles on board, said Natalia Humanyuk, head of the press center of the South Command. Привет. So Zelensky has said this weekend that he is expecting another large missile attack coming from Russia onto the territory of Ukraine. He did say we're prepared, and he did say that as long as Russia has missiles, Russia is going to continue striking. So while obviously we are not anticipating this, nor are we excited about it, because who would be, we are prepared. The military operation on the Kinburn Spit of Mykolaiv region continues. The work is very difficult, in particular due to specific weather conditions and talks that Mykolaiv region should be included in the grain corridor. So if you don't know, this is the region of Kinburn Spit. It is an incredibly important strategically region, it's an incredibly important strategically territory. It is located in Mykolaiv region. It's also outside of being a very important strategic territory that Russia currently has their grip on and a hold over. It is also a very beautiful place, and if you look it up on the maps or in Google Earth or just in Google for pictures, it is a beautiful, beautiful place. It has highly salted lakes that are pink in color, similar to Lake Lemuria and Kherson region. It also has just beautiful, clear waters, and it's kind of like, so if you imagine Florida Keys, right, the way that spit is located, it's kind of just like that, but Florida Keys are their own islands, and this is just a very, very narrow plot of land that stretches through the water, and it's beautiful. But it's also incredibly strategically important, and it's on the water, which gives access for the Ukrainian military to sort of shoot to the Russian fleet. So, taking it back and taking it over is a very big goal of ours. And as I said previously, 10 million times, a very strategically important location. And now I'm realizing that I'm definitely getting sick because I am, my thoughts are a bit of a mush. And I am seeing that I have a hard time articulating things. So, for those of you who are new, please do me a favor and don't take today as an example of how these lives usually go, because I feel like I'm having such a hard time putting sentences together. And this normally doesn't happen, but see, I'm getting self-conscious. Okay, losses of the Russian occupiers in Ukraine from February 24th to today amount to 87,900 personnel. EU Council decides to include circumvention of sanctions imposed by the community in the list of crimes. So basically, the list of war crimes, the list of crimes punishable by law has now been updated with circumvention of sanctions. So companies used to not be brought to justice for circumventing sanctions and working with Russia and supplying Russia with microchips. Basically, like, it's frowned upon, but it's not illegal, and now it is a punishable crime. SBU, or Security Bureau of Ukraine, detained an agent in Odessa who was passing air defense intelligence to the enemy through Russian journalists. First of all, he tried to identify the locations of control centers and air defense systems of Ukrainian troops. For communication and transmission of classified information, a previously worked out anonymous Telegram channel was used. So here is what his little layer looked like. And this is what SBU discovered. So this says, "I speak Russian," in a very Soviet-style propaganda-looking poster. So this is his phone with evidence of him sending data to the Russian side. This is, more. That was him being detained. And it's actually, it's awful to see specifically how many collaborators there are in Ukraine. Also, look at this apartment. It's very funny because I never see people who live I want to say, a normal, decent life collaborating with Russia. The people who usually send information to Russia, the people who become treasoners, the people who are discovered as like Russia's informants in Ukraine and stuff like that, they always live in these like ridiculously horrid conditions. They always have some sort of history of alcoholism. They're always unemployed. They're always parishioners of the Moscow Patriarchy of the Orthodox Church. So it's very interesting because they kind of live as if they lived in Russia. So it's, I guess, not uncanny because that's sort of like, that's what they identify with, Alex says, for people to do this without the excuse of seeing reality through the filter of Russian propaganda. But that's what I'm saying. It looks like Russia is only able to find people who want to do this that live in the same way as most Russians live, right? As in, like, they don't live good lives with education, with ambitions, with jobs. Like, they're not looking for opportunities. They're not looking forward for more opportunities to come to Ukraine with the EU and with partnerships with other countries and with building relationships and with becoming a digitized modern country, right? Because for them, it's not something to look forward to. It's a threat because they already don't want to do anything. They already don't want to requalify themselves. They already don't want to go out there and get a job. They don't want to go out there and make their home better. They don't want to go out there and like work for it, right? For them, it's a threat because the more Ukraine digitizes, the more it Europeanizes, the more it westernizes, right? The less opportunities for them to survive there are because they don't want to evolve. And I think that that's my my personal psychological analysis of what drives people to live like this and what drives people to do these kinds of things. Okay, satellite images of Russian fortifications on the left bank of Kherson region. This is what it looks like. So these are the fortifications on the left bank. Again, for those of you who might be, I'm going to repeat this. I don't know, because, there is always people coming in and out of lives. So I want to make sure that everybody understands, because I know that a lot of people were very confused over the matter earlier. So when you look at the map of Ukraine, when you look at Dnipro, right, the right bank that you see on the map is actually the left bank. The left bank that you see on the map is actually the right bank. Actually, let me show you the map. I'm going to show you the map itself. So we're not talking in hypotheticals. We're talking in something that you can visualize for yourself. So I'm going to look up Kherson here. Okay. So this is what people have a lot of confusion with. When you look at the map like this is what you consider to be a right bank, because it makes sense, right? This is how you're looking at the map. And this is what you think is the left bank. But the current of the river goes like this. It goes down. So you identify the bank of the river based on where the current flows. So if the current was flowing that way, this would be the right bank. But the current is flowing this way. So this is the right bank, and this is the left bank of the river. I hope that makes a lot more sense to those who might still have been confused by this. And I know it's very confusing, but the more you know. So yes, I just wanted to clarify that once again, because I feel like I still see people kind of, having those questions. In the direction of the river's flow. Yeah, exactly. So Alex says, easy. Turn your head in the direction of the river's flow and you'll know which bank is on the left and which bank is on the right. In Russia, banks refuse to grant loan repayment holidays to mobilize soldiers and their families, according to multiple Russian media. Well, they just treat their defenders with so much respect. Actually, it's interesting, because since February 24th, I've seen a plethora of videos of Russian, I don't want to call them defenders because they're offenders, but Russian soldiers who have come back from the front and somehow miraculously survived, and they might be disabled now. They might be missing two limbs, which might be legs or arms or something, and they might need assistance getting on the bus, or because if you are disabled in Russia, there is no accessibility programs there are virtually inexistent. So there aren't really ramps for disabled people to get on the bus. There aren't really ramps to get off the sidewalk, because, well, hey, I think they first need to address the situation with having sidewalks and roads and then ramps, but it's a very non-accessible country. And so they need a lot of assistance. And in a lot of cases, when you see these veterans, right, people just treat them with utmost disrespect. And it's aren't these the people that you say are your best and brightest, who are defending you from the West and Nazis? And then you don't want to help them get on the bus. You don't want to hold the bus for them. You're yelling at them for making you late places. It's just, it's such a vivid example of Russian mentality and how Russians are like. When they're asked on the news about, their hatred towards Ukrainians, they glorify their soldiers and sing them songs of praise. But then when they have to deal with a soldier that has actually come back from the front and is now disabled and needs help, they just basically tell them to F off, right? And slander them. And it's kind of very telling. Since the beginning of the large-scale war in the capital, more than 150 civilians of Kyiv have died, including 4 children, says Vitaly Klitschko. According to Klitschko, 678 objects in Kyiv were damaged or destroyed as a result of Russian bomb and missile attacks. The ministers of foreign affairs of Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland came to Kyiv together. So this story actually was very interesting for me today, and I really want to share it with you because it's kind of it's fantastic. So in Lviv, where I am from, the medics have fitted a bionic prosthesis to a combat medic who lost his right arm during the evacuation of the military from the battlefield. So the reason why this is so great is, first of all, a bionic prosthetic, it moves with the neurons. It's basically connected to your brain, and it sort of almost substitutes. It's like one of the best prosthetics that you can get on the market. It's the most advanced one. It's just, the thing is, it doesn't work for everybody, because it really depends on whether basically what you have left from your limb is still sending signals to your brain, whether you can still control it through nerve endings. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not the best person to explain it to you, but not everybody, even with the budget, can have an ability to have a bionic arm prosthesis, because it simply might not work. But it's basically like a robotic arm. And so the bionic arm was fitted to the men at the National Rehabilitation Center Unbreakable, according to the First Medical Association of Lviv. Dmytro is a 27-year-old orthopedic traumatologist. He's Greek by passport. Dmytro came to Kyiv to study and then stayed here. In February, when Russia started a full-scale war against Ukraine, the men worked in the capital's hospital. Ukraine has become home for me. I do not want to give my home to someone who comes and wants to take it away, the man said. And so here is him with his brand new robotic arm. And that's so fantastic, And it's fantastic too, because he's a medic, and most likely he will be able to perform most of the tasks that, he wasn't able to perform post amputation, and most of the tasks that he was able to perform before he lost his arm. So there is Joe Two Wolves, who says, you're doing a great job describing. Well, thank you. I hope that I'm not confusing anybody, and I really don't want to mislead anyone, but that's what I know about bionic and robotic prostheses. Time to rewatch RoboCop. But yeah, so basically this is fantastic. And I think this is, this is a dream for so many people who need prosthesis, to be able to have that bionic prosthetic. And, it's incredibly sad, because sometimes even if you have the budget, there is nothing that you can do to be able to operate a bionic prosthetic. And here, this is fantastic, because this man was able to get it, and it works, it functions. It's amazing. Pace of fighting in Ukraine may increase in coming weeks, according to Institute for the Study of War. Now military operations are complicated by swamps as a result of rains. Also, thank you, Mariana. The predicted drop in temperature will freeze the ground and speed up the pace of fighting as the mobility of both sides increases. So there is this joke in Ukraine, we call it the Russian Lend-Lease, which is basically Russians leaving their technology and their equipment behind, and then Ukrainians picking it up and using it in our advantage, right? And so we call that the Russian Lend-Lease, because Russia has left and supplied Ukraine unwillingly with so much more weapons than anybody else, that at this point it's kind of comical. So the Russian Lend-Lease for Ukraine amounts to almost $2 billion worth of captured equipment. Data is provided by Oryx, and within that equipment, it's 525 tanks, 1,070 armored vehicles, 188 units of artillery, 51 MLRS, 25 air defense systems, 503 cars, and 1 helicopter. The helicopter is 10 million. The cars amount to 50 million. The air defense to 175 million. MLRS to 46 million. Artillery units to 150 million. Armored vehicles to 639 million. And tanks to 813 million. The Pentagon is considering Boeing's proposal to supply Ukraine with small precision-guided bombs mounted on missiles. They have a range of about 150 kilometers and will allow the Ukrainian military to hit Russian targets in the rear. This is something that is shown on the YouTube thumbnail, and this is also something that we've discussed in the beginning of this stream. Finland has the resources to accommodate more than 10,000 Ukrainians fleeing the war in winter. This was announced by Ilkka Haatela, Director General of the Finnish Migration Service, Migri. So a lot of European countries are expecting a mass migration of Ukrainians come winter, because if Russia keeps hitting Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, then it's going to be a very, very, very cold winter without electricity, heat, hot water, and all of these basic necessities of developed world. And so a lot of countries are preparing for a new wave of temporary Ukrainian immigrants, because it's bound to happen, since it doesn't look like there is any stopping in sight of Russian shelling, and it does look like the infrastructure is going to keep getting destroyed. And we can't keep fixing it in time, and obviously we're going to need help, and obviously people are going to need warmth. So there is going to be a huge wave of migration of Ukrainians to European countries. Again, well, temporary migration, because most of Ukrainians are actually coming back home. And Finland has been preparing and says that they can accommodate 10,000 Ukrainians. Oh, thank you, Darlene. Oh my gosh, that's a new one. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of Kalosh Orchestra Head. Over 9 months, Russia has launched over 16,000 missile strikes on Ukraine, Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov says. 97% of Russian targets are civilian. Estonia sent generators to Ukraine, the head of the Estonian Foreign Ministry, Urmas Reinsalu. At the same time, he said that the main task of the Western countries is to immediately supply Ukraine with long-range missiles. The reason he says that is because, sending generators to Ukraine is the band-aid to the problem. And solving the problem is giving Ukraine air defense and long-range missiles, so we can counter those strikes, and we can also strike Russian warehouses and ammunition depots, so they do not have missiles to send onto us. Okay. Destroy Russian infantry. Okay. The most effective solution to the energy problem for Ukraine is the transfer of missiles with a range of 800 kilometers to the armed forces, NSDC Secretary Alexei Danilov said in a press conference. That's exactly what I was just saying. He says that, we don't need, Band-Aids are great and we do need them, but it would be fantastic if we started getting solutions, not just Band-Aids. Traitors who tortured Ukrainians in the occupation detention center were detained in Kherson. The SBU, together with the State Bureau of Investigations, exposed 3 thieves, former officials who, since the beginning of the occupation, joined the enemy administration and performed the Kremlin's tasks. The traitors carried out mass repressions against pro-Ukrainian activists and detained local residents. Here is their documentation, and let me check in a second. Here's them being detained, but I think among those documents, there's probably some Russian. Yep, of course, those are all Russian documents. Those are rubles, and those are all Russian documents. The two-headed eagle everywhere. The Pope recognized Russia as an attacker on Ukraine and explained that he did not mention Putin in his speeches on the war in Ukraine because it is already known. Okay. Of course, the one who attacks is the Russian state. Sometimes I try not to be specific in order to not offend, but rather to condemn in general, although it is well known who I condemn. It is not necessary to specify the name and surname, he said. Well, actually, it is, because it is necessary to condemn specifically the people who are responsible, and by not specifying and by keeping it ambiguous and by just kind of, avoid putting responsibility on them and to not, what did he say, not to offend is ludicrous and is only giving them power because you need to name aggressors. General Staff says near the village of Starobogdanivka, Zaporizhia region, Ukrainian troops damaged a railway bridge used by the occupiers to deliver weapons and military equipment. During the full-scale invasion, 101 women from the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine were killed on the front line. There are 50 missing and more than 100 wounded in action, said Minister of Defense of Ukraine Oleksiy Reznikov during the 6th Women's Forum. In total, almost 60,000 women serve in the armed forces of Ukraine. 5,000 are directly involved in combat operations. 350 women were awarded with state awards, and 2 received the title of Heroes of Ukraine posthumously. These are Inna Dareusova and Katarina Stupitska. And here are their photos. They are awarded titles of Hero of Ukraine posthumously. And to someone who is asking me in Ukrainian which city I'm in New York. Klitschko says the main Christmas tree of the country will be installed in Kyiv despite the petition on the inexpediency of festive events in the conditions of war. No one is going to cancel New Year and Christmas, and the atmosphere of New Year should be there. We cannot let Putin steal our Christmas, the mayor said. So there is a petition going around Ukraine, which I personally support, and that petition is called "I Don't Want a Christmas Tree." The reason why that petition is going on is because a lot of people in Kyiv don't have electricity. This is what the Christmas tree in Kyiv normally looks like. Okay, that is lots of lights. And I understand that it's important to keep Christmas spirit. I do. But while there are people all over Ukraine who can't shower because they don't have water, while there are people all over Ukraine who have to use blow torches and creme brulee torches to make food or to warm up food, it just kind of looks a little bit of a bad taste to try and put a Christmas tree in the center of Kyiv just so Putin doesn't steal our Christmas. The money and the budget for that Christmas tree can go on buying generators for those who are in Kherson. And I think that that is a horrendous decision on behalf of Klitschko. And I personally disagree with it tremendously. I think it's in such bad taste, in such bad tone, and it's so incredibly unnecessarily stupid. The widow of the Russian colonel who shot 5 bullets into himself wrote a letter. The widow of the Russian colonel who shot 5 bullets into himself wrote a letter to Putin. See, Freudian slip, the window. The woman asks to control the investigation into the death of her husband, who, according to media reports, committed self-unaliving at his workplace. Russian Colonel Vadim Boyko was appointed responsible for the reception, accommodation, and control of the mobilized. Since then, according to her, he almost never spent the night at home, tried to solve the problems that arose, but did not find support from the leadership, and at some point realized that he was trying to appoint they were trying to appoint him as the culprit in all the failures and shortcomings. Interesting. Yeah, well, Russia's never going to... Good luck. Children's writer Volodymyr Vakulenko was murdered in Kharkiv region during the occupation. This is evidenced by the results of DNA examination, which were received by journalists of the investigative department of Suspilne TV. After Ukrainian troops liberated the occupied Izum, a mass grave was found in the city. The burial was conducted by a local funeral service, which also kept a journal with data on the dead. As journalists found out, this journal, number 319, contained the data of the writer. So here he is. His name is Volodymyr Vakulenko. He wrote children's stories in Ukrainian, and they were most likely educational, and they were most likely, spirit uplifting and patriotic, and for that, he must have been murdered. Baltic and Nordic countries promised to support Ukraine and increase pressure on Russia, joined statement of the foreign ministers of 7 countries following the visit to Kyiv. Dnipro has seen several strong explosions today around an hour ago. Okay, well, Senya. Okay, let's see what Kyiv Independent has to say. And with that, we will recap in bullet points everything that happened for today. Institute for the Study of War says Russian defensive positions in Kinburn Strait, Spit, suggest fear of Ukrainian counteroffensive across Dnipro River. Russian fortifications on and around the Kinburn Spit, part of Mykolaiv Oblast but attached to mainland Kherson Oblast, suggests Russia views the chance of Ukrainian counteroffensive across the Dnipro River as a serious threat. Governor says Russian forces shell Nikopol in Dnipropetrovsk Oblast overnight again. According to the governor, 30 Russian shells landed in the communities. No casualties were reported so far. UK Defense Ministry says Kherson in range of most of Russia's artillery systems. According to the latest update of the UK Defense Ministry, the recently liberated city of Kherson is mostly attacked with multiple rocket launchers, primarily by BM-21 Grad systems. Russian forces attacked 9 Ukrainian regions over the past day, unaliving 2 people. Emergency blackouts resumed in all of Ukraine on November 28th. The measures were resumed due to the rapid growth of the power deficit, which currently constitutes 27%, according to Ukraine's state grid operator, Ukrenergo. The ground-launched... Reuters says that U.S. considers giving Ukraine 100-mile strike weapons. The ground-launched small-diameter bombs systems could be delivered to Ukraine in spring, according to a document acquired by Reuters, and those are from the Boeing's proposal. Foreign ministers of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland visited Kyiv. We are in Kyiv today in full solidarity with Ukraine, said FM of Latvia, Edgars Rinkevics. Despite Russia's bomb rains, and barbaric brutality, Ukraine will win. Peskov denies Russian withdrawal from Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on November 28th that Russian forces are not leaving the occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Petro Kotin, the head of Ukraine's state nuclear energy operator Energoatom, reported that the company saw signs Russia was preparing to leave the plant. Those signs were spotted on various Russian Telegram channels where, they were discussing that ZNPP might be worth leaving, that it's not a good location strategically and stuff like that, and that it might be worth it to give it to IAEA. And so that's what I was saying. When Russia writes something like that all over their Telegram channels, I would consider the opposite. But, we never know with them. The key takeaways at the 2022 UN Climate Change Conference were the following: to keep fossil fuels below ground, gradually phase out oil, gas, and coal, and accelerate the world's green transition to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. These elements should also be foundational guidelines for Ukraine's post-war economic recovery. European Council criminalizes evasion of sanctions. The European Council added the violation of the restrictive measures to the list of EU crimes on November 28th. The criminalization will help ensure the same level of sanctions across the EU and prevent attempts to evade the Union's restrictions, according to the Council. This is something incredibly necessary so those companies stop selling chips and technology to Russia that sponsors the invasion in Ukraine. Prosecutor General's office: Russian forces shot car with civilians in Kherson Oblast. Russian servicemen shot a car with 2 civilians inside and ran it over with a tank in Kherson Oblast in March, Prosecutor General's office reported on November 28th. More than 50 bullet holes were found on the vehicle, according to law enforcement officers. Security Service says it found anti-Ukrainian propaganda in Moscow Patriarchy facilities. Security Service of Ukraine and National Police have conducted searches in the Pokhaev Theological Seminary in Ternopil Oblast and the Ivano-Frankivsk Eparchy of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Moscow Patriarchy. On the premises, the law enforcement officers allegedly discovered propaganda books denying the existence of Ukraine's language and statehood. Also, they have discovered various materials on how to talk to parishioners about the invasion starting from February. And they also found that in Kyivo-Pecherska Lavra, which is one of the most historic Ukrainian churches that has been taken over by Russian Patriarchy, it's actually interesting because the Orthodox Church always says that Kiev Patriarchy was born out of Moscow Patriarchy, but it's actually such BS because Kiev existed way before Moscow, and there was Kiev Patriarchy, and then Moscow Patriarchy swallowed it and took it over. Anyways, Foreign Minister, NATO to consider providing new military and energy aid to Ukraine. For the first time, the meeting will be equally dedicated to Ukraine's defense issues, namely new weapons, ammunition, military equipment, and to the country's energy system, Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said, promising there would be more solutions from the allies. Defense Minister says 97% of Russian targets are civilian. Here is a story on Kyiv Independent that I will include right away into the description of this video so you guys can read it whenever you have time, whenever you'd like after this stream, because you know that I like to do this. I like to include some articles from Kyiv Independent that I find interesting and worth paying attention to. So I'm going to plug in my computer, and then I'm going to go into the live, and I'm going to add this link to the description so you can read about it after the stream. Why is it not copy link? Come on. I'm telling you, technology absolutely despises me today. Why is it not? Oh my gosh, I swear. Okay, well, I might need to add it after the stream because what is happening? I swear, you guys, technology hates me. Okay, I might. Hi, John. Welcome. I might need to add it after the stream, but the article is about how volunteers helped Kherson residents survive through the occupation. When Russia captured Kherson in March, distributing supply chains to the city, local Ukrainian volunteers kept it running. When people had no food, they set up free hot meal cafeterias. When people had no medicine or hygiene goods, they brought them in from Odessa. When children needed to take their minds off the subjugation, they set up a sports center in a local school. Every day we served about 400 meals, said Irina Derevyanko, the head of Regional Sports Labor Union living in Kherson. We didn't get much help from the Ukrainian government except the use of school number 23. U.S. says Russia delays nuclear arms reduction talks. The U.S. Department of State said that Russia had unilaterally postponed negotiations on the implementation of the New START treaty on the reduction of nuclear arms. Of course, they love nuclear blackmail. The talks were supposed to begin in Egypt on November 28th. Under the New START treaty signed in 2010, the US and Russia are required to halve the number of strategic nuclear missile launchers. General Staff says Russian troops trying to advance in 3 directions in Donbass. Russian forces are trying to advance in the Liman, Bakhmut, and Avdiivka directions in Donetsk Oblast, Ukraine's General Staff said. Russia is in the defensive in 4 other directions: Kupiansk in northeastern Kharkiv Oblast, Kryvyi Rih in central Ukraine, Zaporizhia in the southeast, and Kherson in the south, according to the General Staff. Ukraine damages bridge used for Russian military supplies, also according to General Staff. The Ukrainian military has damaged a railway bridge near the village of Starobohdanivka in Zaporizhia Oblast, which had been used by Russian troops to deliver weapons and military equipment. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces reported on November 28th. Bloomberg says price of Russian oil falls below proposed EU cap. Russia's Ural crude oil fell to $51.96 a barrel at the Baltic seaport of Primorsk, Bloomberg reported, citing data provided by Argus Media Ltd., a publisher of commodity prices. Earlier in November, EU diplomats discussed a price cap on Russian oil in the range of 65 to 70 per barrel. That is USD. So Russian economy is about to crash and burn because oil is basically how they keep afloat. That is all I have for you for today in terms of news. So if you have questions, suggestions, or anything that you want to discuss, please let me know and I'm happy to answer. And let me know. In the meanwhile, I'm going to take my medicine that I forgot to take this morning because, that's just how I am. And if you are new to this channel and you're going to stick around, you will see. You know, everybody always reminds me to eat, to sleep, and to take my meds. I swear I'm not that much of a mess. Can we discuss Cindy's cuteness in the background? Sure. This is my dog, Cindy. She is from Mykolaiv. She is Ukrainian as well. She's a little munchkin bunchkin. Hello? Hello? Taz says Cindy's either super tired or just waiting for a walkie. I don't want to say the word, but see, her ears went up, so I think we know which one it is. And I am suspecting that that's what she's waiting for. She's definitely waiting for the latter. She's not tired. She's been, sleeping all day. Juba. Juba. Why are we wasting the paper to sign worthless treaties that the other side will not honor? Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's just bureaucracy, right? That's just how it works. But we all know that Russia is not going to honor the treaties, and we all know that it doesn't matter because to Russia, the laws don't exist. And there are no legal implications to any of those things in Russia. Starobogdanivka, Zaporizhia region, Ukrainian troops damaged the railway bridge. Alrighty, so let me know if you guys have anything more to add. Good night, Mariana. And if not, then me and Cindy are going to go on a WALKIE. And we're also going to go buy some groceries and do some things that, we were supposed to do yesterday, but we thought it was Saturday. And I will try to go live just on TikTok for like a little discussion live later today because, sometimes in the evening I do have time. Thank you, Kay. Gonna ask again, do you have any thoughts on Turkey's action in Syria? I mean, here is the thing. I think that Turkey is playing the field from every possible direction, and I don't trust Turkey. I think they're trying to use the situation in their favor and basically come out with more money, better relationship with Russia, things hold over the EU because of their negotiations and acting on their own interests, which are Syria. I still wish yesterday was Saturday. Yeah, me too, Lauren. Me too. Or me three, rather. Me three. Alrighty. You guys let me know what you think. And if there are no questions, then I will see you potentially in the evening on TikTok as a small little live, and I will talk to you tomorrow, same time here, around same time, so between 2:30 and 3 something, and I will obviously schedule the live in advance so you will know, and we will discuss what happened that day. In the meanwhile, tonight, I should be able to shoot a new video. And I should be able to put it out this week. Alrighty. 10 p.m. here then. Yeah, well, if you're in Lithuania, then yes. Alrighty. Okay. Oh, hi, Danon. Good to see you. Chaos. Do you follow China Chaos? Yes, China Chaos, but I don't have enough to say about it right now. So Polly is asking one more. Do you follow the China chaos? Yes, I do. There was a situation in China that I can actually go over tomorrow if you're interested. But it was about COVID lockdown and a fire in a building where about 60 residents have died because they were locked in inside due to COVID restrictions and they weren't able to leave. And so now Chinese people are protesting for the first time in like decades against the Chinese government due to their inhumane COVID restrictions. But I don't have enough information on it to sort of give you a more detailed breakdown. So if you'd like to hear more about it, then I will catch up on it by tomorrow and I will bring it up. Take care and enjoy walkies. Bye for now. Bye. Okay. I will be turning. I will. Thank you, Kay. I will be turning all of the horizontal platforms off then, and then I will turn off TikTok. So thank you for listening. Thank you for catching up with Ukraine. You guys are fantastic, and thank you for caring. And I will see you tomorrow, same place, same time, for the news about Ukraine for the next 24 hours.